Hello, everyone. If you're here, you probably want to practice your English listening skills, right? And let me tell you, you're already on the right path. Learning to understand what you hear in another language can seem hard at first, but with a bit of practice, it becomes more natural. For those who are just starting, a great tip is to listen to simple, short conversations like the ones we have here on the channel. You don't need to understand every word in the beginning. The important thing is to catch the general meaning. Even if you pick up just a few words, that's already progress. A day in Sarah's life. Sarah lives in a small, friendly city. She's 26 years old and works at a bookstore downtown. Every morning, Sarah's alarm rings at 7 a.m. and she slowly opens her eyes, stretching in bed. "Good morning, world," she says with a smile. Sarah likes to start her day with some calm and simple habits. First, she gets out of bed and goes to the bathroom to brush her teeth and wash her face with cold water. Then, she takes a few deep breaths and looks in the mirror. "Today will be a great day," she tells herself, trying to feel positive. After her morning routine, Sarah goes to the kitchen to make breakfast. Today, she decides to make scrambled eggs, toast with butter, and a cup of hot coffee. While she eats, Sarah looks out the kitchen window. She can see people walking their dogs, kids going to school, and neighbors saying hello to each other. At 8 a.m., Sarah checks the time and realizes it's almost time to get ready for work. She quickly finishes her coffee, puts on her favorite outfit, grabs her bag, and heads to the door. As she leaves, she remembers to lock the door and says to herself, "Okay, let's go." Sarah walks to the bus stop, which is just a short distance from her home. The air is fresh, and she feels relaxed. While waiting for the bus, she checks her phone to read a quick message from her best friend, Emily. The message says, "Hey, Sarah, let's have lunch together today." Sarah smiles and replies, "Sounds great. See you at 12:30. The bus arrives at 8:30 a.m., and Sarah gets on, finding a seat near the window. She enjoys looking out as the city passes by. There are tall buildings, coffee shops, people rushing to work, and some kids playing in a small park. This city is always alive, Sarah thinks happily. After a short bus ride, Sarah arrives at the bookstore. She opens the door, and the fresh scent of books fills the air. Her coworker, Mark, is already there. "Good morning, Sarah," Mark says with a friendly wave. "Good morning, Mark," Sarah replies. She feels lucky to work in a place she loves, surrounded by books and friendly people. Sarah's first task is to organize the new books that arrived. She carefully places each book on the shelves, making sure they look neat. She sees some titles she wants to read, especially a book about traveling to Italy. "Maybe one day I'll visit Italy," she thinks with a little smile. Later, a customer comes in looking a bit lost. "Hello, can I help you find something?" Sarah asks kindly. The customer says he's looking for a gift for his daughter. Sarah listens carefully and suggests a few books she thinks his daughter might enjoy. After some thought, the customer chooses a mystery novel and Sarah wraps it up for him. "Thank you so much for your help," he says. "You're welcome," Sarah replies, feeling happy she could help. Around 12:30 p.m., it's finally time for lunch. Sarah meets her friend Emily at a small cafe near the bookstore. They order sandwiches and sit by the window to talk. "How's work?" Emily asks. Sarah laughs and says, "Busy as always, but I enjoy it." They talk about their plans for the weekend, maybe going to see a movie or visiting a new park in the city. "It's nice to have a friend like you, Emily," Sarah says. Emily smiles, replying, "Same here." After lunch, Sarah heads back to the bookstore. She spends the afternoon helping more customers, organizing shelves, and recommending books. Around 3 p.m., she takes a short coffee break, sitting in a cozy corner of the store. She sips her coffee slowly, enjoying a quiet moment. She loves these little pauses in her day, where she can relax and think about her goals and dreams. As the day comes to an end, Sarah finishes her tasks and says goodbye to Mark. "See you tomorrow," she says. She leaves the bookstore, feeling a bit tired but satisfied. It was a busy day, but a good one. When Sarah gets home, she takes off her shoes, sits on the sofa, and stretches her legs. Ah, home sweet home, she sighs. She relaxes for a bit, scrolling through her phone and checking her messages. After a while, she decides to prepare a light dinner, just some salad and pasta. Cooking helps her relax, and she enjoys making a simple meal after a long day. After dinner, Sarah feels ready to unwind. She decides to read a book she borrowed from the bookstore, a travel story set in Italy. As she reads, she imagines walking through Italian streets, tasting new foods, and visiting historic sites. One day, she thinks, I'll see these places with my own eyes. Finally, around 9:30 p.m., Sarah prepares for bed. She takes a warm shower, puts on her cozy pajamas, and brushes her teeth. Before turning off the lights, she sits quietly, thinking about her day. Today was a good day, she whispers to herself with a smile. She feels grateful for her job, her friends, and the simple joys of her routine. As she closes her eyes, Sarah feels peaceful, ready to rest and start a new day tomorrow. And with that, she falls asleep, dreaming of more adventures.
Okay, so today we're going to dive into a topic that I think a lot of people struggle with when they're learning a new language, which is listening comprehension.
Right.
And we're looking specifically at the beginning stages of learning a new language.
Yeah.
And we're going to be using some excerpts from Texto Colado, which I guess you could call it like a guidebook or a blog or something like that.
Yeah, kind of a collection of tips and tricks.
Right,
For
exactly.
language learners.
Yeah.
Especially beginners.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our listeners out there are probably either just starting to learn a new language or maybe they've...
Been thinking about it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they learned a language a long time ago and they want to brush up on their skills. So
Yeah, we're going to unpack some of the advice that's given in Texto Colado and hopefully give you guys some motivation to...
get started or get back into it.
Yeah, or keep going.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really like about Texto Colado is they start out with a lot of encouragement. Kind of right off the bat, they say, if you're even thinking about this, if you're listening to this deep dive, you're already on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I really could have benefited from hearing when I was first starting out.
Yeah, I think that's so important because a lot of people, they get intimidated right from the start.
Oh, totally.
They think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do this.
I know.
But it's really just about taking that first step and then the next step and the next step.
Yeah, so I think Texto Colado does a good job of kind of like breaking it down and making it seem less scary.
Right.
One of the things that they recommend, and this resonated with me as well, is to start with simple, short conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, like one of the first things that I remember being able to do in language the host is learning was order a cup of coffee.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah, and that felt like a huge accomplishment.
I bet.
Like I had conquered the language
Yeah.
at that point.
And so why do you think that's so effective?
Well, I think part of it is building confidence.
Yeah.
Like you said, you start to feel like, okay, I can actually do this.
Right.
But I think there's also something about starting small that helps your brain kind of process the new sounds and the new rhythms.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's
Yeah.
sort of like, if you were trying to learn a new sport,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't start by playing a full game.
Right.
You would start by practicing the basic skill.
Right, like dribbling a basketball or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with language learning. You want to start with those basic building blocks.
Yeah, and I think that's where Texto Colado
Yeah.
really hits the nail on the head.
Okay.
They say that understanding every word right away is not the goal.
Yes. And I think this is such a common misconception.
Oh, for sure.
People think they need to understand everything perfectly from the beginning,
Yeah.
and that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
It's about getting the general meaning. It's about being able to follow the flow of the conversation
Right.
and using context clues to fill in the gaps.
Yeah. I love that analogy of reading a headline.
Oh, yeah.
You don't necessarily need to understand every single word in the headline
Right.
to get the gist of the story.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing with listening comprehension.
And Texto Colado makes a great point here. They say, even if you only pick up a few words,
Mm-hmm.
that's still progress.
That's a good point.
That's still a win.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to celebrate those small wins because language learning is a journey.
Oh, for sure.
It's not a race.
Yeah.
And so you need to acknowledge your progress along the way.
It's not like overnight you wake up and you're fluent.
Right, exactly. It takes time and effort and patience.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get discouraged because they don't see results fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can focus on those small wins, it really helps to keep you motivated.
Exactly.
Yeah. So imagine yourself. You're sitting down, you've got this short audio clip. You're not stressing out about understanding every single word. And every time you catch a new phrase, it's like a little victory.
Yeah, and that's what builds momentum.
Exactly.
That's what keeps you going.
Yeah. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys.
Yeah.
And as you continue your language learning journey, I want to leave you with this thought. What's one language you've always wanted to learn? And what's one short conversation or audio clip that you could find today to take that first step?
It could be a simple greeting,
Yeah.
or a song, or a short scene from a movie.
Totally.
Anything that sparks your interest.
Yeah. And remember, you don't have to understand everything perfectly.
Right.
Just focus on the overall meaning and celebrate those small wins.
And most importantly, have fun.
Exactly.
Enjoy the process.
All right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.